How do the Sunni brothers explain the event of Ashura and the persecution against the Prophet's relatives, the Prophet's grandchildren? And how do they explain it, justify it, in what way? Let's see. It is very interesting to know that the majority of the Maqtalul Hussein, the books that recount the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, AS, most of those sources are Sunni. For example, Maqtal al-Hussein al-Kharazmi is a Sunni scholar, Tabari, a Sunni historian. This is true for many others who narrate the history of Karbala. They are Sunnis. So, dear brothers, you, for example, go look for references about what is said regarding Imam Hussein, ASs. For the most part, Sunni scholars have spoken about the martyrdom of Imam Hussein, AS. So it is no longer something that a Sunni scholar can, we can say, reject. And, for example, here I am already seeing different books. I will read to you, for example, from Imam Abbasiyasa by Abu Muhammad Abdullah ibn Muslim al-Qutayb al-Dinbari, which is from the year 276 after the Prophet. And that also speaks of the martyrdom of Imam Hussein. Another book is called Ansab al-Ashraf by Ahmad ibn Yahya ibn Jabir al-Baradari from the year 279 AH. All of that speaks of the history of how the family of al-Bayt was martyred. And in the book Al-Bidaya wa Al-Nihaya by Abu al-Fada Ismail ibn Umar ibn Jarir al-Damashqi from 774, 374 years after the prophethood, he also speaks of the martyrdom of Imam Hussein. For example, Tabari al-Umame wal-Muluk, historian, Abu Jafar Muhammad ibn Jabir Tabari. In the 5th century, Tabari al-Baghdad, Abu Bari Ahmad ibn Ali al-Khatib al-Baghdadi in the history of the city of Baghdad, year 463 after the Prophet of Islam. The history of Yaqub, Ahmed ibn Abi Yaqub, Ibn Jafar ibn Wahab ibn Wazi, the known Yaqub. 284 years after the Prophet of Islam. And there are many more Sunni and Shia sources that talk about how the martyrdom of Imam Hussein occurred. So, the interesting thing, dear brothers, is how they address the topic of the martyrdom of Imam Hussein. Everyone agrees that in Karbala, on the night of the 8th, families of the Prophet were martyred in a very strong way. Even Bukhari narrates it. Bukhari. In several narrations. So, this martyrdom of Sayyid al-Hussein is something that has been mentioned in all Sunni sources. That in the first place. Secondly, how do they address this? The majority of Sunnis will neglect it. Ignore it. They will not mention it. Or they say it is not that important. That they have slaughtered, dismembered the family of Ahlul Bayt of the Prophet of Islam, what the Messenger of God commands us in the Holy Quran. I do not ask you for any reward except for love for my relatives. I do not ask them for any compensation for what I have done. The Messenger of God by God's command says, just to love completely. With all their heart love my family. So what do the people of Zonita do? A large part of the Zonita brothers neglect it, especially those who are influenced by Saudi Arabia, the Wahhabis. Some are very wicked, like Ibn Taymiyyah or the Wahhabis, and those of ISIS. Some will justify the actions of Yazid. They say that yes, Yazid ordered the killing of Imam Hussein, but well, in all governments, whoever rises against the governor deserves to die. So, Yazid did what was right. The Wahhabis and those from ISIS terrorists say this. There are books, there are sources from them that say they already declare that Hussein deserved to be beheaded. And the same we will do when we have the government. In Saudi Arabia a couple of months ago, they beheaded 50 people, including a minor about 11 or 12 years old, a Yemeni child. They beheaded them all with a sword. Even in their jurisprudence, which is affected by the corruption of the Umayyads and Abbasids, they have titles on how to behead people. So those people that we label as terrorists, Zionists, even ISIS terrorists made a statement saying that we agree with what Amir al-Mu'minin Yazid, the commander of the believers Yazid, did. If we were to be in the time of Yazid, we would accompany Yazid in killing Hussein. They are enemies of Imam Hussein, so they are not going to celebrate that day of Ashura. They will take it as a festival. They will celebrate it. Some of them, who are also evil but are smarter, say they won't be as blatant and will say and will exculpate Yazid from memory as he does, saying he didn't know and didn't want it. The governor of Yazid in the city of Kufa, on his own, killed Imam Hussein. A total lie. It's like they are, we can say, exculpating, exempting Yazid. It's a lie, manipulating history. So they come to blame Abdullah ibn Ziyad and absolve Yazid. Ibn Taymiyyah in his works, like in his famous book, talks like this and says that Yazid was not to blame. Men hayosonna en nabawiya debne Tuimi says this. So, these are the Wahhabis who are enemies of God. But let's see. The vast majority of Sunni scholars throughout history have cried for Imam Hussein. Nowadays in Pakistan, Egypt, India and Iraq, there are Sunni scholars who respect Imam Hussein. They remind of that day of Imam Hussein. This is also true. But they already know if they cry for Imam Hussein, it is practically converting. That is why I have some resistance against the Shia, because the Shia's motto is to cry for the martyr. We proudly cry for the martyr. Since it is like the motto of the Shia, they have a sort of abstinence from crying like we do. So some, the most they do on the day of Ashura is remember Imam Hussein or talk about Imam Hussein, but in a very, we can say, unemotional way. Or some I have seen have a voice of sadness, nothing more. But singing for Imam Hussein and making people cry and all that, there is some resistance in them. Do you know why? Because when you cry for Imam Hussein, then it will be asked, who killed Imam Hussein? Emotionally, that will dominate you, the love for Imam Hussein in your whole heart. Then you will love Imam Ali with all your heart. Why do you love Imam Hussein? When you read the story of Karbala, on the day of Ashura they said, kill the sons of Hussein who bear the name Ali. Imam Hussein named his 3 sons Ali. His eldest son was Ali Akbar. Imam Sajjad's name was Ali. The little one who was beheaded was also named Ali. He named all his sons Ali. And because at that time they insulted Imam Ali, peace be upon him. So, if you cry for Imam Hussein, remember Imam Hussein a lot, peace be upon him, then you will ask, who allowed Yazid to come to power? Muawiyah, who put that corrupt Muawiyah in charge. So that's where the problem begins. So you will see that Osman had put him in power. And before Osman, it was Omar. Omar and Osman must bear the blame. So if we have said that God sends his curse on those who prepared the ground to martyr Imam Hussein, did Omar not know that Muawiyah is an enemy of Imam Ali? Yes, he knew it because Muawiyah, even when he could, until the conquest of Mecca, was fighting against the Prophet of Islam. The freed ones by the Prophet of Islam who deserved to be enslaved, but God's message did not enslave them, it freed them. So did Omar know? Yes. But why did he give power to a murderer like Muawiyah? That's the question. There are 2 ideas. The Shia say, look, Omar did it because he was an enemy of al-Bayt. He gave power to Muawiyah so that Muawiyah could kill him. That is to say, Omar did it consciously. He knew what he was doing, but the Sunni brothers say no, it wasn't like that. It's that Muawiyah at that time was a good person. Muawiyah was evil until the conquest of Mecca. He converts to Islam. Suddenly, he is going to become a perfect and pure person. During Omar, he is a perfect and pure person until the end. So when he fights against Imam Ali, it's a struggle for power and that's it. But when he goes to poison Imam Hassan, that's a lie that the Shia brought it. And when he goes to hate Imam Ali, insult Imam Ali, whom the Messenger of God said, to love Imam Ali is faith, to reject him is hypocrisy. Oh, that was the political fight. Muawiyah had faults. We haven't said he is a saint. But Muawiyah put Yazid in command. Oh look, those powers are normal. Who is going to be king? He will put his son. But, well, then we say, but Yazid killed Imam Hussein. There is the verse, no one will bear the burden of another. Only put Yazid out of love, but Yazid became evil and killed Hussein. Imam Muhammad Ghazali, one of the Sunni masters, justifies it that way. He says, we do not know if Yazid at the end of his time repented for what he did. So one cannot ask for God's curse on Yazid. Perhaps Yazid has repented. For everything he has done, perhaps he has repented. That is to say, it is an attempt, it is a contradiction. If they choose to cry for Imam Hussein, it means they have already accepted him with all their heart. Because crying means that I already love Imam Hussein, Islam with all my heart. If they have accepted him, it means they are opting for the Islamic revolution, for Imam Hussein, for Qasem Soleimani, for the path of Imam Hussein. It is to reject the Umayyads, to reject the Abbasids. It is that if you say yes, you have to go all the way to the end. So they are resisting there, it's like not wanting to enter. And when you ask that question, they throw you out of the mosque. It is a resistance in the Sunni school. They know it. Look, I have actually sat with many of their scholars and have spoken deeply. In the end, what do you mean? Look, it is that Imam Ali was not infallible. He had his mistakes. But what does the Messenger of God say? The Messenger of God also had his mistakes. It is that the Messenger of God also had his mistakes. One of his mistakes is that he gave too much importance to his family. You do not even accept the Messenger of God. It is that you know that the Messenger of God did not give so much importance to the Arabs, but Omar did give a lot of importance. And the Shia are mostly Persians. It is that we are not Persians. We are Arabs. That is why we cannot opt for the Shia. So if there is going to be an Arab who is Shia, he is a man of God. Because Arabs love to be Sunni. Listen, that is important. Why? Because Omar ibn Khattab indeed set many rules in favor of the Arabs. A total discrimination against the Ayam. Everyone knows it. That's why, generally, Arabs choose to be Sunni, and Persians choose to be Shia, because they were oppressed and al-Bayt were also oppressed. So the Shia, being oppressed when they find al-Bayt as their defenders, they defend al-Bayt and will be in love. An oppressed group by the Arabs will be in love with al-Bayt, another group oppressed by Arabs. So you will see a very strong bond between the Persian Iranians and al-Bayt, whom we have always loved, historically, but the Arabs have not. Why? Because al-Bayt always spoke of justice. They said, it doesn't matter if you are Arab or Ayam. Arab or non-Arab, they are the same. An Arab or a Latino are the same. That was not given much importance. That was not liked. It did not please the nationalist, racist Arabs. That's why you will see, if you find an Arab who is Shia, it means that person was able to control that in their heart. He is a man of God. So the Arabs generally, for the most part, are Sunnis. But if you find an Arab who is Shia, wow, that is a man of God. It is the sweetest thing you can find. Because it is a person who knowingly has accepted the path of humility of al-Bayt. That's why you will find Hassan Nasrallah is a sweet man of God. Because he is Arab and he is Shia. When you find those people, you love the way of life because they will be the closest to al-Bayt al-Alim Salam. The Arabs, Shia, I say they have more merit than the Shia Persians because we are traditionally Shia. It means always because the Arabs, Omar, always oppressed the Iranians, the Persians. In the conquest of Iran, they committed many massacres. Do you understand me? I will give you another example. For example, if a Latino is against Christopher Columbus, it is something normal. Because, for example, a person who is originally from Mexico, an original Mexican, if they are against Hernan Cortés, it is something normal. Because they consider him an invader who killed children, women, and everything. It is normal. An Iranian is against the Arabs who were invaders. It is normal. Because they remember so much invasion, so much evil from them. But if we are going to find a Spaniard, like of Spanish race, from Castilla and Leon, from Barcelona, that blonde Spaniard, right? But that is against the conquerors, against the invaders, against Christopher Columbus, against Hernan Cortés, against Pizarro. That person is indeed special because they have a free soul. It is a man with whom one can talk. Do you understand me? That is how it is among the Arabs. So Shia Arabs are very prominent people. I personally have a lot of respect for them. That is why I always love Hassan Nasrallah. In my supplications, I always remember him. Because look at that person with such spiritual greatness. In the end, he says, I am a soldier of a Persian leader. Can you imagine? And that shows his spiritual greatness. It shows his spiritual purity. And that is not found in all people. Well, with that we are going to finish. It is that, dear brothers, the truth in words is sweet. In action, it is bitter. And not everyone who speaks the truth fulfills the truth. That is the heaviest part. So many, their interests go against Imam Hussein Ayazaz. And for their interests, they prefer to forget Imam Hussein. For example, those who receive money from Saudi Arabia or the United States prefer to ignore Imam Hussein. That is why when you go to their mosque, Imam Hussein is never mentioned. So we ask God to help us have open hearts to the truth, and that we may set aside our interests to seek the truth. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakat. May the peace and blessings of God be with all of you.